Good morning, everybody. Welcome to 2A Radio. We are happy this morning to be here with a brand new edition. And yes, wherever you are, thank you so much for joining us. And we hope you can stay with us for the next 30 minutes or so. Today, we have a very important topic to discuss, and that has to do with the Minister of Finance in the Liberian government, Minister Samuel Tweah. Why are we discussing Minister Tweah? We are discussing Minister Tweah because it's all about the national budget, the Liberia's national budget, 2022 national budget. And what is about the 2022 national budget? The 2022 national budget has not been printed into handbill. Our source are the last discussion of the Liberian Senate. So we thought to emphasize why Minister Tweah should be cited and that the national legislature are supposed to hold him in contempt. And necessarily, Samuel Tweah should go behind bars because to start executing the national budget without printing it into handbills and distributing copies not only to the national legislature, but the entire line ministries and agencies is a fundamental problem. And it is only a benevolent dictator, let me use this own phrase, it's only a benevolent dictators or operatives of benevolent dictators that can run a government without the tenets of democracy in terms of looking at the budgeting process. So we think it's only about people who are not cognizant of accountability or people who are afraid of accountability will be the ones who will not want to live by the clear laid down principles as to how budget should be prepared, authorized, and executed. So first, let's look at the process involved in budgeting. Before, let me give you just a small summary as to what happens with the 2022 national budget. The 2022 national budget was passed in February this year by the national legislature. It was proposed by the executive branch of government, sent to the national legislature. The legislature, in fact, let me say this, the national legislature, especially the House of Representatives, passed the proposed budget like a speed of light. They did not review to add essential component and know what the budget did contain. They passed the budget without even budget hearing in the House of Representatives. And after the passing, they sent it to the Liberian Senate. And the Liberian Senate took a little while to look at it, but they themselves, as the public were expecting that they would have called the line ministries and agencies to pass the budget, they also passed the budget like a speed of jet. Well, whatever it is, maybe the budget was perfect to them, so they needed not to waste time with the budget. So they passed the budget. And the budget was passed, I think February 28th, if I'm not mistaken, but it was passed in February. Passed, concurred with in February, and sent to the president's office to be signed. Whether the president even signed the budget, many a times in the past, because the budget is the nucleus of running a government, when the president signs the national budget, it's always a way of informing the public that the president has signed the national budget. When the president signs the national budget, the media is there and they capture the scene. It's like You give hope to those who are involved in the executing of the budget, or those who have money in the budget. It could be people who government owes. It could be government-owned revenue generating process. So when the president signs the budget, it becomes public information. It's widely spread. It's publicized. But under this condition, it is not. So that's not the only stage. When the president signs the budget, it goes to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for printing into handbill. That also is not a secret process. When the budget is being signed and sent to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to be printed into handbills, when it's printed in the handbill, it becomes a public record. And the person I'm talking about is not the way you pass the budget like a speed of light. It should have been the same process, the same timing that you should have printed the national budget. Because guess what? A national budget under a very good performing democratic government is not supposed to spend a cent without that budget being printed into handbills. That's why in developed countries, or those who are concerned about government, when the budgeting process, when there is timeline conflict with the budgeting process, like the United States government, you will hear a lot of public information. Oh, when the budget is not passed this time, the government will run out of funds, or there will be a problem. So there will be a widespread public information. You will see senators and representatives so concerned because why? The timing of the budget is cardinal to the running of a government. So then, under the Tweah's administration, we do not think this is an undemocratic government, because why? This government, the Tweah's government, was elected by the people, right? The government was elected by the people, and it is the government by the people and for the people. So if the government is for the people, inform the people as to every stage of the national budgeting process. So we ask ourselves, has the budget been printed into handbills since it was passed, concurred with, likely signed by the president? The public has no idea as to whether this budget has been printed into a handbill. How do we know it? Senators themselves, members of the Liberian Senate, are the ones who raised the issue. And we want to say thank God to Darius DeLong, because he raised the issue. We may not like Darius DeLong, but at least this is a cardinal point to emphasize. That he raised a very germane, important issue, while in fact the legislature, the House and the Senate, would have taken pay for January, I assume, February, March, April, and May. Likely May has not ended, right? So has the government paid its civil servants for 3 months since the budget was passed without printing the budget into handbills? Isn't that a very serious problem on the part of the finance minister? It is a serious problem. And I think members of I watched the senators debating this issue. I did not see seriousness in their faces. In fact, I saw the presiding officer, Albert Chie, winning his eyes to some members of the Senate. He did not attach very seriousness to this matter. You can't be running a government in that form and manner. You must be serious. If Samuel Tweah has not lived up to the tenet of democracy, the statute says, the budget law, how you call it? There are necessary instruments that points to the budget. So if Samuel Tweah is not living up to those instruments, the laws of the country, shouldn't he call him to come and ask him? It's like petting him to know whether the budget has been printed into handbill. But right, every senator should have a copy of the printed budget in his office, in his or her office by now, because why? You are the custodian of that law. So you shouldn't be begging Samuel Tweah after 3 months to bring in a national budget that you should have printed into handbills. You should be citing him to appear and say reason why he should not be held in contempt. If he doesn't get a good reason, you say if you're bad, even if it is for a day, let Samuel Tweah learn a lesson that Liberia is bigger than him. You know, you get in the government to serve. You are a public servant. It is not about his private activity. Nobody will talk about Samuel Tweah private activity. But when you're serving as a minister of finance, there are serious business you should be concerned about. Especially the budgeting process is a cardinal issue that even international partners watch for. When they are grading you that the government is not serious, these are some of the indicators. You pass a national budget. You are not printed into handbill. So it means even you are not given copy of the budget to the foreign missions near that capital. They have interest. Don't tell me say you don't give the minister the diplomatic missions copy of the national budget. You should. You should. For purposes of good governance, because these people are the ones who monitoring you. So when you print the budget into law, or when you print it into a handbill, then you take copies. You should have a list. The first thing is you send out 103 copies, or right on there 102 because Bonnie Samka is out. 102 copies, hard copies, print it out, send it to each senator and representatives. And maybe more than that, because while they have their administrative offices, you have the budget office, you have the different department within that. So you send a little more than 102 copies. But primarily send 102 copies to each representative and senator. Has Samuel Tweah done that? No, he has not done that. Why is he serving as Minister of Finance? Why? Why is he serving as Minister of Finance? It's not to run around job where whatever job where goes, he's there. No. Since he has not printed this, because okay, I will talk about how to distribute the budget, right? So when the budget is printed, you take copies, you give it to the legislature, you take copies, you give it to line ministries and agencies, heads of line ministries and agencies. They don't just one copy in there, you send a few copies because they have ministers, deputy ministers, assistant ministers. These people are the ones who are implementers of policies and programs within the budget. So they need to have copy of the budget that is printed into handbill. When you finish with the line ministers and agencies, you go to those important institutions like school, University of Liberia, they should have copy of the national budget. Not only that, you go to other Cottington, everybody that gets something in that national budget, you have hard copy of what you have printed in the handbill. Then you say you're running a government. You want people to praise you every day. And you don't follow the little things, these processes. You don't follow them. So I wouldn't be surprised if Samuel Tweah is running his own affairs. He's executing perhaps the proposed budget that he has in his hand is what he's still having and executing. That's a fundamental error. That's not how democracy works. So senators should have applied every level of seriousness. I saw Milton taking and making fun out of this thing. The only person I saw serious in was Darrell DeLong. And a few other persons sitting there, I could see on their faces there, oh, I don't know what happened to this government. They were saying it in your heart, but no, this is not the time to say it in your heart. They see where Jensen wake up by 4 o'clock to get prepared and tell you how a government should be serious. You, senators and representatives, should be more serious than anybody else in that country because you are paid from the sweat of the Liberian people. So when someone is messing up, you must be quick to tell that person. Some people have already sold your own birthright. Samuel Tweah thinks that he's a Lord and gospel unto himself. When you should be asking him questions. The first thing is, before the 2022 national budget, there was a budget that was sent to the national legislature. And the legislature said they wanted a budget performance report for the last fiscal year. But guess what? Samuel Tweah did not live up to that. After they told him to go and bring it, that's the time he brought in the 2022 national budget. So what happened to the other budget? That was the end of it. So when you conduct yourself in that manner, that's what Samuel Tweah will do. He will think that, look, these people, they're not smart, man. They don't know what they're doing. As far as I'm concerned, I'm the president in this regard. You don't run the country that way. So why Samuel Tweah going to tell you people? You're going to say, oh, my people, I'm sorry. And you accept the sorry because guess what? You all are already in the wrong. You are taking paid without even asking, how you paying us? You sent us February checks. How are you paying us from where? We are not getting a copy of the printed national budget. Where is it? Are you telling your Minister Tweah that you executing the national budget without printing into handbills and you bringing me salary? How many senators ever asked that question? Even the director himself. Good to know he raised the issue, but he's taking pay for salary, I guess. Now I'm not clogged with the authority to go in there and know whether they are taking pay of February, March, and April. But the reality is they may have taken their gas or whatever that is. And that should be based on the printed copy of the national budget. If you didn't do that, then I don't know what kind of government you are running, whether it is a democratic government. But as far as election is concerned, it's democratic, but you're not following the tenets of democracy. When you don't follow the tenets of democracy, oh my God, then there's a questionable issues that should be answered. So it's not about individuals who want to do things for themselves. It's about people who want to serve. You want to serve, and you are appointed in the government, live by the tenets of democracy, my people. That's the unique thing. That's the best thing you can do. Every one of you should live by the tenets of democracy, the checks and balances in government. That's the fundamental issue. Live by the tenets of democracy. It's not about pleasing somebody. It's not about liking somebody. It's about what you should be doing, that the public eyes will see you as, oh, these people are the most serious group of people we have in Liberia. So, lawmakers, you are not asking Samuel Tweah to bring in the national, or you are asking him to come. Even that motion, the way the motion should have been filed by the senators, wasn't like that. And I saw the president pro tempore winning his eyes. It's like, okay, no, this year we know about it, but anyway, we're going to have our own discussion. We're going to see how we handle these matters. So, okay, let's live in their life. The Minister of Finance in Liberia is in serious violation. So what do? You call him on a serious note to give account of his errors. Once again, in democracy, there are tenets of democracy. You want to run a government, you must follow the tenets of democracy. That's what the framers, those who had the idea that you cannot run a Bush government, or people like some amateurs, like people who don't know nothing, is people try to have a refined way of doing things. And how to do it, they say, well, yeah, when you have a government, every budget cycle, like right now, you see you have from January to December as the budget cycle, right? So when you submit a proposed budget, and a proposed budget is accepted, it's been discussed, it's been passed, concurred with by both bicameral legislature, then you send it to the president for signature. That should be also of a public record. And then from there, you send it to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in a Liberian situation for printing into handbills. When you print the budget into handbill, then it's ready for execution. If you don't complete the budgeting process, the national government budgeting process, and you start execution, you are in fundamental error. And that's the time check and balance come in. You, the lawmaker, you pass a budget, you should be telling people, hey, what's the printed copy of the national budget? How are you paying us? Start with yourself. How are you paying us? From what? Except for the budget that has been passed. If the answer is yes, then why are you paying us without printing this budget into handbills? If you didn't ask yourself these questions, and after 3 months into the executing process of the budget, when the budget has not been printed in the handbill, then you all must be blaming yourselves. Imagine and the good thing is they have a department within both the Senate and the House. It's called the Department of Budget. So when you have the Department of Budget um, not briefing senators, you should like when I watch a debate, I saw senators themselves not putting serious thing into this thing. I saw Darrell Dillon. The first thing is they should have cited their own department chairperson to give them an update, because that person too should follow up the process. That person, the senators, should have heard from their own, but they all know what's going on anyway. They know what is going on. They all are aware of the violations. So, what is more important at this stage is how are they approaching the process so far too? Is it because the president knows about it, the speaker knows about it, the pro tem knows about it, and then they don't care to live by these tenets, these fundamental principles? That's what the problem is. And when we ask these questions, we want you, the public, to demand government to live by the tenets of democracy. If not so, guess what's going to be happening? The Minister of Finance may have a very special interest in the 2022 national budget. Next year is election. They may not want to be accountable. They don't want to give account. So they want to spend the budget loosely. So it's possible that they have line items that they didn't want the legislature to take note of. So because of that, if the budget is not printed in the handbill, if they distribute the budget widely, civil society organizations, the media institutions, government, other government apparatus, they are going to be reading the national budget. And they will see some of these things that are being captured by the printed copy. Imagine if the budget was circulated, as I said earlier, gave the diplomatic missions near that capital, gave all of the schools that are involved, you gave ministerial agencies there are copies of the budget. Everybody, not everybody, but very people who are interested in the budget will read the budget, and somebody will see some line item and there will be a public outcry. So because of that, that's why I will assume that Samuel Tweah, the Minister of Finance, has not printed the budget in the handbill. And very likely Samuel Tweah is doing some stuff. Maybe Weah himself is not aware about it. President Weah himself, he may not know about it. Is President Weah having a copy of having a printed copy of the budget on his desk? I doubt it. I seriously doubt it. So Samuel Tweah must not just be asked to give reason, because he will definitely give reason. He's a good talker. So his reason would be, oh no, I've passed. I get copies printed. In fact, you senators should have been sending for the Minister of Foreign Affairs, or send your department head to go to the Minister of Foreign Affairs and see on the record whether this budget has been printed in the handbill. Now, this budget is raising some very serious issues, Liberians. And those issues are like laws that are passed in that country. Do you get copies of those laws that you pass? Or you just say you pass a law and nobody follow up? Whether it's a version you pass, Liberians are very corny for that. You pass a particular version of a piece of paper, and before it gets to be printed, somebody has tampered with it. Maybe the person who has interest in it, you lawmaker, you don't care. You just want to put out your hand on, yeah. And at the end of the day, you send the paper out. So you don't even wait to see a copy of the law you pass to know whether it is the version that you have passed. You just let it go. All you do, you feel you have done a piece of job for Liberian people, and then that's the end of it. No, that is not how it works. Every lawmaker must be given a copy of a piece of legislation that's been passed. And you should have copies to see, because every decision you make today will haunt your very self after you should have left power. And that's the significance of why people take their time to do things. Well, the decision you take today, tomorrow you will be in the public view, and you will not be having power, and you will have to be, the law will apply to you likewise. So every piece of legislation, you need to know from start to finish. If anyone is tampering with a piece of legislation, It should be your business to question that. So this morning, we just thought it wise to caution, not just caution, but to believe that the Minister of Finance should be held in contempt by the National Legislature in Liberia. If you want to school in America, Americans believe in the kind of a systematic way of doing things. So why is he not doing that? Once again, Samuel Tweah is not a Lord unto himself. He works for the people of Liberia. And if he works for the people of Liberia, he must live by the tenets of democracy. If Liberia has a democratic government, the national budgeting process involves preparation. Even preparation, you don't just take figures and you assign it to ministry and agency. You ask every minister or head of agency to submit a proposed budget. They discuss the problems affecting their ministry or their jobs. What can I achieve within the budgeted period? They put it down and they attach cost to it. And after their analysis, they submit it to the Ministry of Finance, they go through it, and now that's how to compile or prepare a draft national budget. Under U.S. government is not happening that way. That's a fundamental error on you people. So if the U.S. government went out and say, hey, this government is not living by the tenet of democracy, you won't get a no. You feel that the other somebody is hitting you. No, it's not hitting you. You are not just doing the right thing. Now, at the end of the day, you expect people to give you good mark. People must praise you for doing the wrong things. No, nobody's going to do that. You have an obligation. You have to do what you have to do. It must be done right. It's not your private affairs, it's public affairs. When you get in the public domain, you must work in line with the public. The public expects the government to deliver. You can only have deliverables when you're living by the terms of the budget that you have drafted, that the legislature has considered and has been signed and printed in the handbills. If you're not doing that, you will definitely have problems with policy and program. And I'm sure this is what Samuel Tweah is doing right now. Take money for line item A and send it to line item B, and he say he's executing the national budget, when he should not do that. If a budget is passed as it is, before you take line A to apply to line B, it must be at the consent of the National Legislature. You have no authority as Finance Minister to take money for this project to apply on another project. That's a fundamental violation. And that's what Samuel Tweah is doing. When he and Weah and the Mageo, they sit down, they have that discussion, you think, okay, you know what, Samuel Tweah, we can take this one from here and put it this way. That's not how it works. If you're doing that, as I said, in his own words, that's the work of a benevolent dictator. So to get that stopping is mean the National Legislature must check on the executive branch of government. Is that what they're doing? No, the legislature themselves, they're not doing it. They feel the run of government is a club. So say one, so say all. No. In the minds of those who develop the idea of democracy, it's a different thing. Having said that, we are not here we plan to give you 30 minutes, and we are here again. Let me give you a summary. Samuel Tweah has not printed the national budget into handbills. Our source is the Liberian Senate. They have sent for him some way, but it's not even clear. They have not written Samuel Tweah to send for him. Somebody just felt like raising the issue. Maybe Darrell Dillon raised the issue, Senator Dillon, and we'll give him credit for that. We think that was an important point. So we still believe that Samuel Tweah must give account. He must be cited for contempt and show reason why he has not printed the national budget from start A to the point where this budget should be in the hands of all senators and representatives. And that's where we stand. Once again, this is 2A Radio. We are broadcasting from Pennsylvania, and we're looking at the issue in Liberia, budgeting process, and as to why the Minister of Finance has not printed the budget into handbill. On the next time, join us. We're going to be here discussing other pertinent issues that have confront Africa, Liberia, and perhaps the world. So I'm James Jensen, and then join us next time. Have a pleasant day.